A Florida teacher who was savagely beaten unconscious by a 270-pound autistic student after she told him to stop playing his Nintendo Switch refuses to back lighter sentence as he faces up to 30 years in prison. Now, 270 pounds on a person, specifically like a guy, regardless if you're autistic or not, is a huge guy. Okay? Like that amount of weight on a very big guy, like in general, like just like behind like any hit is brutal, right? It's straight up brutal. So like one hit by like a 270-pound guy can easily knock out the majority of people without even any training or anything, just because of the sheer mass of this individual. Now, obviously, it's understandable if a teacher doesn't want to be like, oh, yes, I want the person who beat me up until I was unconscious to have a lighter sentence. Like, where in the world does that make sense? Again, regardless if this person is autistic or not, right? If the attacker is autistic or not, right? It still caused massive amounts of harm. And what people need to understand too is like that individual did this to this teacher. What is to stop him from doing this to literally anyone else? Right? Say he were to get, I don't know, some sort of like food at like a fast food place. Like he would order some food at a fast food place, but doesn't get what he wants. Is he just going to beat up the person behind the register for not giving them what they want? Right? Because I mean, there's videos out there of people like wanting like chicken tenders from like a fast food place that doesn't even serve chicken tenders, and then the person goes like crazy. And recently, there's been so many news articles about fast food employees basically getting attacked by customers. So, a Florida teacher who was beaten senseless by a 270-pound student has refused to support a lighter sentence for the teen. High school teacher Joanne Nadish was violently attacked by Brendan Deppa, then 17, in February, after she told him to stop playing on his Nintendo Switch. The autistic teen was seen on video punching and kicking the educator in the back and head until she lay on the ground unconscious. Now, I do recall seeing the video, and it was not good. Ooh, no, I am not going to show that video. Like, not on YouTube. Definitely not. So, yeah. But you could tell this guy was not holding back, like, at all. Like, can you even imagine 270 pounds just going straight down onto someone's skull? Like, I'm honestly surprised that she's not dead. Like, she should be, like, thanking Jesus that she's not dead, because this is, like, brutal. I mean, honestly, she might go buy, like, she should probably go buy a lottery ticket with how lucky she was for not dying from this situation. So Deppa reportedly threatened to kill Nadish during his arrest. Deppa was charged as an adult and faces up to 30 years in prison for the first degree felony charge of aggravated battery. The teen, who was initially charged as a juvenile before being upgraded to an adult, is set to plead guilty in an attempt to avoid jail time, the New York Post reported. The thing is, like, how can you even hope that you're not going to get jail time when you are on video brutally attacking someone and also later on threatening to kill that person? Like, yo, it ain't going to be good for you. Nadish has shown no interest in mitigating what penalties Deppa might face, according to news site Flagler Live. Debba had 3 prior battery arrests before the February attack and has been in a prison fight just last month, the Post reported. Yeah, like, so like this guy is like, okay, this guy is one of those guys that you literally just cannot help, right? Which is sad but based off him having multiple occurrences of extreme aggression, okay? Like, look at this. Hold on, where is it? He had 3 prior battery arrests before the February attack. And the only reason I'm guessing that he wasn't in prison is because of his age, right? And while technically being in prison now, right? Like, has been in prison, like in a prison fight just last month, because he's probably, like, awaiting trial. Like, dude, this is not going to stop. So you either put him in a situation where he's going to be around other prisoners, or you put him in a situation where he's basically endangering everyone out in the public, just minding their own business kind of thing. Depa, oh, wait, no, hold on. Let's see, where is he? Yeah. I'm hopeful that the awareness of this incident being spread far and wide will prevent anyone else from ever dealing with the trauma, physical healing, and disruption of everyday life this has caused, she said on a GoFundMe page that has raised more than $100,000. Depa is slated to issue his plea later month and will be sentenced after that in a separate proceeding. Manza's high school where the assault occurred has been beset with violence in recent years, the Post reported. And earlier this week, 11 students were arrested after a fight broke out in a crowded hallway. Deputies and administrators who tried to quell the chaos were shoved and punched during the incident. The lack of respect demonstrated by these students is simply shameful, Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley said of the fight, but actions have consequences. In yet another violent episode this week, a 16-year-old student was arrested for biting a teacher who tried to stop her from fighting another girl. Like, what the heck is going on in this school? Like, is like everyone in this school a bunch of like criminals? Like, what the hell is going on? Now, this is probably like a very high population school as to like why this is like pretty much the case, because typically in schools that are lower in population and just basically in general, you have less likelihood of things like this happening. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get 30 years, but he's probably going to get over 10. He's probably going to get over 10 years for this attack, is what I'm thinking. Which means that, like, his life's basically ruined from this. The teacher's life is completely changed because of the damage that she had done to her. And even if she were to fully heal from it physically, mentally, she's going to be like super like wary of basically any person that might even look like him. Now, this person says 30 years in prison is not enough. Again, I don't even think that he's actually going to get that. Let's see. 3 previous battery charges, 1 fight in prison recently. He doesn't deserve a lighter sentence. He's clearly a danger to society and lacks impulse control. 20,959 like up arrows, whatever that is, I guess up votes or something, which I completely understand. Like, this would be a completely different scenario if, let's say, that this was the person's first offense. It was the person who didn't brutally attack someone. It was someone that didn't like threaten to end the person later on after being arrested, right? Like, if it was a situation where like there's like a disagreement, it got heated, and then someone like threw a fist or something, and that was it. Okay, that might be a little bit easier to deal with. But like this was basically like a straight up brutal attack that was trying to be basically the ending of someone's life over a video game console. Like, just think about that for a second. Like, just think about that. That's crazy, okay? And again, this is the type of person that, like, if they go order some sort of food and don't get it exactly how they want it, they will attack that person, if not worse, right? Like, this person is clearly a huge danger to the general population. So this person says she is doing society a favor by refusing to back a lighter sentence. She is lucky to be alive. Agreed? Let's see. How they ever get any teachers to even work in that school district is beyond me. And he's done this 3 times before, and once since he's been in prison, given before 30 years. I think it's also like pretty crazy that they're able to get teachers like this. But what some people may not realize is that a lot of these schools, right, with basically bad students or potentially harmful students or dangerous students, they are in areas that are basically deemed as underprivileged, right, by the government. And what that means is that a lot of teachers will get an option by the government to serve, you know, these like, not as higher income potential like counties, cities, whatever, these districts, these schools. Basically, because like a lot of teachers have large amounts of student loan debt. And one of the ways to get rid of the student loan debt that's supposed to happen, which is only recently actually working out, is where you basically serve 10, 20 years in communities where you're not going to be making as much money, right? Because there's less money in those areas. So they would end up teaching in these types of schools for like 10 plus, 20 plus years in the hopes that their student loans will be forgiven. And with like probably some, like maybe most of these teachers. Some teachers might be going to teach these schools because they like have like a heart of gold and they just want to help out students that maybe they feel like are not getting a good break, which might be the case. But I bet probably a lot of them are working these types of schools because they are getting that potential benefit of wiping out their student loans, which again only recently started to actually be effective. Because for years, not like less than 1% or less than 2% of the people that actually did this actually got their student loans forgiven after the 20 years. So, like, if you're a teacher, don't dedicate your life to work in these types of schools because you're only really putting yourself in risk, right? There's not a big enough benefit for the teachers to go and do this. There just straight up isn't, right? It make way more sense for you to work in a very high income county, sector, school, whatever. So you're making really good money, paying off your debt yourself, not relying on the government, and then also maybe volunteering your time if you want to in like a little bit safer areas. Like it's just sad to see this. It's sad to see like teachers just like randomly get like attacked like this. Let's see. This person says, why would the teacher support a lighter sentence? That 17-year-old could have killed her. I say give him the max and make an example out of him. And the thing is, like, because this individual is autistic, and who knows what else he might be dealing with, he's not going to understand that he did anything wrong, right? So, like, how do you deal with someone? How do you treat someone in the justice system where their brain does not work like a normal person's brain, right? Because, like, that type of guy, right, could easily just use this monster energy can that I'm drinking to smash into the face of someone if they piss them off, right? But a normal person would be like, if they got pissed off by someone and they're drinking this can, they're going to be like, man, I'm just like really pissed off. Like I need to like go walk it off, or I'm going to like argue with this guy or whatever. But like I don't want to get into a fight with this guy because it's not really worth it. So I'm just going to blow off steam somewhere else, right? That's like a normal person's brain, an average person's brain, right? But this individual, if they were to get ticked off and they had this in their hand, they would just use this as a weapon. Like, again, like you can't really have this type of person out in the general public, right? They got to either be away from pretty much everyone, or be locked up, or be in a psych ward, or something, right? Because anything can set this type of person off. Anything. I mean, this was over a Nintendo Switch, which is like what, like a $100, $200 video game console that you were probably going to get back at the end of the day. She's lucky to be alive. Give him the maximum. OMG, no words. Why would she? Agreed. Why would she? Like, I don't understand that. Listen, let's see. This person says we need institutionalization to come back. Where else does someone like this belong? Now he has done enough damage to ruin his own life and be in prison. He could have killed that lady, and likely will end up killing someone after they let him go. He will be even more dangerous. Give him a permanent home in a locked facility for Christ's sake. This person says, fully agree. Here we have care in the community, but that usually ends with no care. Oh, I guess because this person is in the UK, they have something called care in the community. Okay. The other extreme is hugely expensive. I worked as a support worker to one woman who had 24/7 one-to-one care in a privately rented two-bedroom flat. We need to return to larger specialized secure units where people can get good care and are safe and no danger to the public. Okay, so this person's interesting. So this person says, my 16-year-old son has autism. As a parent, you have to teach your child to conform to societal standards, whether or not they understand or like it. This is what can happen when you ignore your responsibilities as a parent. Yeah, yeah, perfectly makes sense. Good. I feel sad he's autistic, but he is a danger to society. Yep. Okay, so this person says, my husband has a severely autistic cousin. He's 14 now and not safe around his grandparents or his sister. Even the special school couldn't handle him, so now he spends his days in his dad's truck eating and I guess in his dad's truck eating and on his iPad. Okay. Which like that gets like super sad, right? Because these type of individuals are basically non-functional autistic people, right? They're non-functioning autistics, right? Because I think there's some like high functioning autistics where maybe they're like super good at like sales, super good at like coding, super good at like running a business or something like that, super good at something, right? Where they get like super analytical or creative or whatever, right? Because a lot of like autistic or functioning autistics get like super highly focused on something and get super good at it. Like those are the functional autistics. But for someone to be autistic to this extent, where they literally cannot function in human society, like at all, like what do you do with them? Like, I don't know, right? I don't know the answer. I definitely think that this person needs to be in prison for what they did, but is there something out there that could actually like prevent this whole situation from happening? Or like that other person said, the whole institutionalized type of situation where it's basically like what's the best way to put it? Mental hospital, but kind of acts like almost like a prison too, where it's not as severe as a prison, but you're away from the general public in a way. So You are safe, the person is safe, the general population is safe. Like, who knows? Like, maybe there's an option where it's like, I have seen like a video where, like, even for like prisons, you have an option depending on how much money you have access to. You could actually go to like a higher upper class prison where it's almost not really like a prison, it's almost more like you're just stuck in a dorm or something like that. So maybe that would be more of an option for individuals like this, but that gets super expensive. And I doubt the parents of these autistic kids that are this dysfunctional can really afford something like that. So who knows? There's no excuse for such a vicious attack. Agreed. So this one says, I've taught many, many autistic students in my almost 40-year career as a special education teacher. Not all autistic individuals are the same. I mean, I agreed. I've met a few autistic people, and from what I've seen, for my experience, was like they just got like super obsessed with something, right? Regardless of what it was, just for some reason, there was something that was their main focus and nothing else really mattered, right? So, for example, one person that I knew was autistic, the guy was a coder, kind of like in, I think, late middle school, early high school kind of thing. But he kept on talking about, like to me specifically, just like coding little apps, right? And trying to sell them. Like that's all he talked about. That's all he did nonstop. Just like coding, 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 coding. Oh, I try to make this coding, 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 coding. Didn't talk about anything else at all. Nothing else mattered to him. That was his life, basically. Another one was more so about like talking about politics for some reason. I don't know why, but they were just like super, super like focused on politics, and I was like, okay, dude. But a lot of autistic people just get super specialized with their focus. So that's what I've seen. And again, that's just my experience from like spending time around some autistic people. But from what you can tell, even from this one, like this situation, this dysfunctional autistic, right, still had that aspect where they were obsessed with something. It just happened to be that Nintendo Switch, where because they no longer could use it, you know, a, like a switch flipped and they went completely ballistic. Let's see. He's clearly not safe in public if he can do this. Dirty should do it. Like the scary thing about this, like even if he were to get the full 30, which is never really the case, like just say he were to get 30 years, right? Like one of these comments said that we scrolled by, they'll be out earlier, depending on, the good behavior, which probably won't even happen, but like time served, etc. Like there are some ways where people who get 30 years might get 20, might get 25, might get 15, might get 10, even though on the sentence says 30, the time that they actually spend in there might only be like 25, 20, etc. And what he's going to do right when he gets out is probably get into a fight with someone. He has zero impulse control and is extremely violent with a long history of this behavior, 30 plus years. He punched and kicked her over 20 times. There was a level of rage in his attack that was truly frightening. I don't think he can ever be rehabilitated, but if the possibility exists, it would take a very long time. he should stay locked up until then. Yeah, a lot of people are very pro making sure that this guy gets a very long time in prison, which to me, I completely agree with this because, again, this guy is just such a huge, huge danger to the public. And by the way, I mean, again, like, lucky for her that she did not pass away from this. Lucky for her that there were people around that eventually did end up helping her out. Because if no one helped her out within like 5 minutes, she would have been dead. Period. End of story. But also, what she probably should do is probably sue the parents of the kid in like a civil suit type of thing. Maybe sue the school for like some sort of payout as well, which she probably could as well, just because like not having enough security, etc. The school is dangerous already, all that sort of stuff. But man, like it sucks, right? Like it sucks. You don't want to see someone who's just doing their job get brutally attacked by someone like this. And by the way, like the video is pretty freaking brutal. Like brutal.